When you start your business, no one ever prepares you for what's in store. So finding someone else who just gets it is sometimes the thing that can keep you pushing toward that big business goal.
We're turning our Zoom coffee chats into a weekly, unfiltered podcast for online business owners. They were so good, we always wanted to record them and repurpose them for content anyways. And that's on being a social media manager.
I'm Jessica Sheehy.
And I'm Madeleine Digan, and this is
#managed. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of #managed. I'm Jessica, one half of the co-host. Hey Madeleine, how's it going? How was your weekend/week since we're recording a little later than normal?
It's good. It's good. I'm really excited for this episode. I know we say that every week, but if you guys obviously you see the title of this week's episode, but I'm so excited. And so my weekend was, I swear, I don't live an exciting life. It was it was very chill, which is why I wanted to maybe start something new. I know we talked about this a little bit on our planning call, but I want to kind of introduce it to the audience, you listeners. So like I said, I don't really live that exciting of a life. When I do exciting things, you will hear about it. But what I do have on the weekend is a lot of weekend thoughts or shower thoughts that I have now started to write down in a notebook, obviously also in a phone's notes works as well. But these are the thoughts that I think of randomly and want to discuss with Jessica. And I know that there's some other podcasts out there who they do similar things where they'll give each other bullet points to and just like that's it. So I think maybe that is how we might start to tweak our intro with our weekend plans. So, do you care if I share my weekend thoughts? And then
Yeah.
I know you have some as well.
Yeah, go for
Okay,
it.
so my first thought was, why are there no rainy day outfit inspiration pictures on Pinterest? Pinterest, if you're listening, we need to up our game. I also know that this might be a sign that we at #manage also might need to up our influencer game here. But I swear it's all like hunter boots, but I have big calves. Like the high ones aren't going to work for me. And just I also need to reach across the pond and ask the Brits what they're wearing, because I feel like they have cute outfits. So I need them to take over that category of Pinterest. I know Harmony also mentioned how if you're living in the warmer states like Tampa, Charleston, the southern states, where there are no warm fall outfits. We also need that to be a category that we up the game on.
Yeah.
So, to any of our listeners who, if you're also in your influencer era, maybe you actually are an influencer and you need to let us know so that we can follow you and see your looks. But there is an opening here. There is an opening for you to thrive. And then my second one, this was just so I was finishing up the boutique's September content because, yes, friends, I too am like you, and sometimes like we want to be months in advance ahead, but there's 5,000 other things going on. You got emails, you got admin stuff, and it doesn't happen. But so this past weekend I was finishing up the boutique's content for September, and I feel like we've talked about this on the podcast before, but I was giggling to myself because I often do when writing captions because I think I'm funny. But this may be a tip if you guys aren't already doing this, but when you're creating content, think of the emotion or mood on that specific given day, because I feel like we even had an episode I know earlier this year where it's like, what's the best time to post? And I believe on that episode, we can tell you what later suggests and what like Sprout Social suggests, but at the same time, do it the motions, because when somebody comes to the boutique's feed, I want it to feel like a warm hug, like this
Mhm.
warm hug. And that is Madeleine's weekend thoughts.
I love that. And I have to say, like, I know, okay, I feel like I'll give myself a little grace because we just thought of this idea
Yeah.
yesterday. But when I
Yes.
think, I'm like, wow, Madeleine's weekend thoughts are so profound. And let me tell you what mine is because it is not. And I think that's what will make this funny as we get through, like,
Yes.
doing this every single week. So, a little backstory as well because I think it's really helpful to understand what my weekend thought
Mhm.
is. It's not completely random, but last week we did 2 back-to-back content days. It worked out that we had a team member who was coming into the area, and we have another team member who is constantly like bouncing around. She's a little like location independent, and so she was in the area and she's not in the area for much longer. So it just really worked out that this week we were all in the same area for 2 days. So in my head, I'm like, how do I maximize that in terms of things that we can do? So we did we call them a content day. They're never full length days. They're probably like teetering on the side of half days. And so we did it for one of our clients who owns a non-alcoholic bottle shop. So it's a shop full of drinks, which gives you a lot of context towards my weekend thought. One part of our scope or our project or what the client is hiring us for is developing an influencer program. They don't have anything at the moment, but they have I think a really unique business where
Mhm.
there are literal influencers and content creators and just people who are obsessed with their products, like banging on their doors. I mean, in the sense of like sending DMs of like, how can I be an influencer? How can I
Mm.
create content? How can I become a brand ambassador? And that's my favorite time to like take over anything because I'm just
Mm.
like, immediately I know it's going to be a success. And so anyway, I'm trying to think through a couple of different campaigns that we can launch this with. And in the area that we live in the Tampa Bay, because it's Tampa, there's St. Pete, there's Clearwater, it's kind of like a triangle of cities, but it's all centered around the Tampa Bay. And it's a really big area, like very touristy. There's so many people who live there, but there's so many content creators and food bloggers who are, capturing like the new restaurants opening up in the area, or it's like where to eat lunch today, or, there's a big talk about Tampa is it the best city over Miami for a Cuban sandwich. I'll throw my vote in and say yes, I think so. And so there's so much talk around the food because there's so much culture here. So anyway, my weekend thought, and also too, I probably send it in the most random way, but I always send my weekend thoughts or my daily thoughts or random things I don't want to forget. I Slack it to myself. And every Monday, I go through my own Slack channel and I clean it out. And I probably will start taking screenshots of that because it's very
Mm.
random. Like, I send photos, screenshots, like words, things I need to add, like into Asana, tasks to do, like very random things. So, my weekend thought was very simple. All I wrote was drinks, then lunch, question mark. That's all I wrote. But in my head, to me, that's a fully fledged influencer campaign brief for our client. And
Mhm.
so, anyway, it just made me think of it's a really fun thing that I think because it's a bottle shop. People go to grab a drink before anything. They're trying to make it more like grab and go. And so, how fun would it be to go grab something and kind of BYOB at any like local restaurant that you're going to get like your favorite lunch, like whether for the workday or like on a fun Saturday, afternoon outing or anything like that. So that's my weekend thought. Very random, but I'm excited to start doing this because I think there's so many things that I do like think about,
Mm.
or like I think Madeline, you said this yesterday on our planning call. Sometimes it's like, oh, I don't know, like, is this worth like a Slack or like a text or like a DM like on a
Mm.
Saturday
Mhm.
afternoon? So I think we can start building up like a good, like just mixture of things that we would want to share from the weekend. And then of course we can
Mhm.
always report on anything fun that we are doing. But I feel like personally for myself, I feel like my weeks are more full than my weekends. I mean, maybe that's just like
Same.
the
Mhm.
season of life I'm in this moment. But yeah, but I'm excited to start the weekend thoughts. Insert fun jingle or sound there.
Yes. Okay. Well, let's now, with that being said, let's get into our weekly reports. And why don't you kick us off this week?
Okay, sounds good. Okay, for my weekly report, I am still reading John Stamos's memoir, if you would have told me, and I really like it. I'm about halfway. I think I'm about 55%, through the book. But it's so weird because I guess last year and the year before, those were such big reading years for me, and I'm not in that at all this year. And I'm like, I'm just gonna accept it. Like I know we all talk about how like we all like start multiple books at the same time, which I have to say is really hard to do like on a Kindle. So I'm noticing I'm not doing that. I'm not reading. And I'm not reading at like the speed that I have been. So I don't know. I'm kind of in a reading rut. Maybe I'll get out of it eventually, but maybe I need to go back to physical books. Maybe that is like the switch up
Mm.
I need. So more details to come on that. For eating, okay, so I know we're kind of going into pumpkin season, but I'm going super specific because I'm like obsessing over any pumpkin donut munchkin. I'm
Mm.
like,
Mhm.
I pumpkin bread, I'm gonna put that in the same category because to me, I feel like that's
Okay.
really similar to a donut, munchkin, pumpkin bread. I'm obsessed with it. I'm also
Mhm.
like a pumpkin bread all year long kind of girl. Like I love the more like this kind of seasonal food, like a fall
Mm.
seasonal food. It really is up my alley. So that's what I'm currently eating. Playing, I'm listening to a podcast, and it's I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit. And I don't think I even know his last name. I just know his first name is Ramit. I don't know if I've ever talked about this podcast before here on this podcast, but it's a personal finance podcast. And I feel like Ryan and I this is one of the only podcasts that we agreed to like listen to together, like on car rides. So when we like did our drive down from Connecticut to here in Tampa, we listened to like several episodes, and it's so funny because we're listening. They're like an hour long episode. It's him interviewing a couple talking about their personal finances, and every so often I'll pause it or Ryan will pause it, and we're like, that's you do that. Like we're like calling each other out for like, but I think it's good because it helps us have those,
Mhm.
sometimes uncomfortable. I mean, that's the culture we were raised in, right? Like money is uncomfortable. So it helps
Mm.
us have those like conversations and I've known Ryan for a very, very long time in my life. And these are conversations that we've never even had, even years
Mhm.
after being married. So I like it. I don't want to say crazy, but it's not as straightforward and blunt as like a Dave Ramsey or any like
Mm.
similar podcasts like that. It's very very open to a lot of different lifestyles around money. He's a big proponent of renting, which I know is so rare in the
Mm.
personal finance world, but I love his perspective on it. So anyway, definitely recommend it if you're looking for a podcast that is somewhat neutral, and I want to say somewhat because I could see where sometimes he's not in terms of personal finance. Um, so that's what
Mm.
I am playing. Okay, obsessing over this is so random, but I just saw this yesterday. I am obsessing over the Dancing with the Stars lineup for this
Same.
season.
Same. And I didn't put that as mine, but same.
I as I
Anna. I'm watching
Zoe,
it for Anna. I'm
yes,
watching it for Anna.
I'm
Purely
like
Anna.
as I was swiping through the lineup, I'm like I'm obsessed. I haven't watched Dancing with the Stars probably in years. I can't even
No,
tell you
since
the
I
last
was a
season I watched.
child.
Yeah.
Since I was a child.
Yes, and I used to watch it, like, religiously. I loved it, and I always thought, "Okay, they had the best stars, it was so good," and then it just I don't know, I know it was still obviously going on, but this lineup, I'm obsessed with everyone they got, and so I'm gonna be in it. I'm gonna be voting, like, I'm fully
Yeah.
I'm obsessing over that. Recommending, I feel like I go through I'm kind of in an era where I'm trying to find like a good vitamin C serum,
Mm.
and I'm
Mhm.
going through so
Mm.
many, but I actually feel like I went back to like an old faithful. Again, you guys know I just moved, so my whole like makeup bag and bathroom bag is all, flipped around. So I went back to this. I had like the Sunday Riley CEO Glow. I feel like that's to me like the OG, like
Mm.
the first
Mhm.
vitamin C serum you like ever buy or try. And I have to say I really like it, but I think it kind of goes into like things we talk about. We always have our like favorites in our like makeup and skincare bags, but we are always like trying to find something new. So I think it's Old Faithful. So I'm going back to it and recommending a vitamin C if you don't have one, because personally I've been leaving one out of my skincare for a little too long and I can tell. So recommending that, and then treating myself to a strawberry matcha latte. I've been obsessed with this, and I feel like iced. I feel like I don't know if I've shared, but I'm pretty much always an iced drink unless it's really really cold, or if there's that first day in Florida where it's like 65 degrees and we're all wearing our little sweaters, then I'll go get a fun like warm beverage to to cosplay as someone living in like New York or Chicago for fall. So, but really liking a strawberry matcha latte. And I have to say, I am like really into like my matcha era because
Mhm.
I haven't drank coffee since January of this year, which is absolutely crazy. I miss it, especially since we're in PSL season, and I'm
Ugh.
trying to stay strong because I know I'm weak, and if I have one sip of a PSL, I'm gonna get back into a really bad habit. And I don't know, I just feel like that was a really hard thing that I had to do to break that caffeine addiction. So anyway, that's my weekly report. Madeline, what's on yours?
Okay. So for reading, I'm going back to the Dare to Lead. I know last week I said, so clearly I'm in this era of reading too at the same time. It just depends on my mood. Um, but that's where we're at. For eating, peaches. Like I know you
Mm.
said pump, but like the peaches, especially white peaches here
Oh
are
yeah.
so good. And fun fact for you, you probably, I don't know if you know this since you are from Georgia, but even though Georgia is like the peach state, did you know South Carolina produces more peaches than Georgia?
I do know that, and I think I know that from, like I think there's, like, a very random sign, like, when you cross that, like, Georgia-Florida border, like, into South Carolina. I don't even know
Uh-huh.
where it is or what it had to have been by, like, a peach farm or something, but I remember reading that, and I was like, "That is some major tea, and good for
Yeah.
them for putting that, like, right over the border." But I think that isn't that so funny, though? That's, like, Georgia's branding, and it's not
Yep.
even, like, their number 1, like,
Right.
export.
Yes. But anyways, the peaches, they're just so good. Then for playing, I just recently watched the movie Incoming,
Ooh.
and it's on Netflix. It is so funny. It's like at certain parts, like when I started it, I was kind of like, is this gonna be funny? But no,
Mhm.
there are moments where I don't know for whatever reason when I was watching this, the actors in this movie, I was like, give them 20 years, they're going to be the new age comedians. Like especially the girl who played like the popular girl. There's one scene with her that I was crying laughing, and it is, I will also say, it is a specific humor, like where it's like if you were to watch it you're gonna like
Mhm.
very much get to know my type of humor. But anyways, so that's for what I was playing. Then for obsessing over, I'm obsessing over Mary Jane shoes. Like
Mm.
the ballet flats, but I have a pair that I'm going to link in the newsletter that I got from Anthro when I was
Mhm.
home. And they have a little kitten heel and they are so cute. And I'm obsessed with them.
Okay,
Like,
please link
like,
them because
yes.
I'm looking for some, and a lot of people have recommended several from Amazon. And I don't know if I've
Okay.
ever shared this, but I'm not a big like Amazon like fashion or
I'm not either.
shoe.
Nope.
I
Nope.
feel like that's an unpopular opinion, but I'm glad that we share it.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I'm not one for like or no, I am for Anthro, but I'm not one for Amazon
Y-
like shoes or fashion. So I will
right.
definitely grab that link.
Like I'm all for an Amazon dupe, but like like
Hmm.
just I don't know, where it's like when you really want that quality, like I'm gonna go to Anthro or
Right.
Madewell, whatever.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, yeah. So share that because they're so cute. Then for recommending, I'm recommending that all social media managers get signature phone cases like Emily in Paris. I think we like
Yes.
so if you guys know, like, or watch Emily in Paris, she has the camera phone case, which is hilarious because Jessica and Harmony both know that my work phone for the boutique, that I have that phone case. And just watching that is like, I need one for my personal phone. Like, I
Hmm.
need one. And I laugh because so I went home, what was it, like 2 weekends ago?
Hmm.
I'm losing track. I'm losing track. But yeah. And my mom had, so my nieces are obsessed with Hello Kitty right now, and as was I, and as am I. But she has this Hello Kitty phone case and a Hello Kitty pop socket or pop sock. And I'm
Hmm.
just like, so the girls freak out, and she's like, absolutely. She's like, I'm the coolest. And I'm like, well, that's a given. But so, anyways, I realized I need to up my phone case game.
Yeah.
And
Same.
then for the last thing for treating, okay, so I'm really, really trying not to buy anything this month. Like, or I'm glad you recommended that I will teach you to be rich because I remember you telling me about that podcast, but honestly,
Hmm.
I had forgotten about it. And I'm
Yeah.
in my era of podcasts where I am trying to listen to more financial ones because similar to you, Brent and I are also there, we are also having these conversations to try and get to financial freedom. But anyways,
Hmm.
so with that being said though, I really, really want to pre-order Pamela Anderson's cookbook, but
Mm.
I want to get the signed version. And
Hmm.
if and honestly, I want to gift it to some people for Christmas. Like I honestly am already thinking about holiday gifts because like they sneak up
Hmm.
on you and then you're like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
there's so much. So I'm like honestly trying to think about that. And
Hmm.
I like the two people who I'm thinking of getting this book for is, and watch, this will be the one episode that they both listen to. So like
Right.
if you are listening to this, can you not? But it's for my Aunt Kay and then Allie because like they
Hmm.
both are they're such good cooks, and just the cookbook's called I Love You, and I'm just like, and we all three of us obsess over Pamela Anderson, so like
Hmm. Yeah.
yeah. And I
Oh,
want
I
one
love that.
selfishly for myself. So
Yeah, I like that. So it's funny you say that, and we're always like same page, which I think is
yes.
hilarious but great. But so many people on my For You page are talking about a no spend September, and I'm not gonna lie, I broke that on September 2nd. I'm
Oh
like, there,
no.
maybe the first. I'm like, there is just no way possible that like September 1st might have been like my worst day of the month so far. But I think on the note of like shopping for holiday gifts now, like I think I am like I want to get it done and over with,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to no spend December because I think for me, I
Ooh.
think I can actually do a no spend September or December because there's different things that are like going on that month, and it's the holidays, right? And then into like the new year. So I know that last week of the month, like it's that weird time like where most
Mm-hmm.
people are off, like you're probably like maybe still with family or still doing things for holidays. So I'm like, easy done, like I don't really need to go out and go like shopping or do anything like that, or like spend silly money that I need to save instead. So I feel like I'm gonna do a no spend December one because I did already, like I know it's only the 5th that we're recording this, but I'm like, yeah, that budget's like out the window.
No, okay, so let me be fair too. So like so September 1st, great. September 2nd, so I went to a yoga class and forgot I had to pay for parking like in the
Mm,
garage, and then I was just like, not that I went on a bender, but it was just
hmm.
like I was just like, well, dang it. But so we're trying, but I like that no spin December and I want to hop on that with you. Like I think we could do it. Like
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
also that's just me leaning into my hobbies. Like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and do like finding cuz like even for instance this weekend I want to bake, which I know I also like to buy the supplies I need or like I have to buy the supplies, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's just different to me.
Yeah.
It's not,
Agreed.
but it is.
Agreed. Yeah, I think it too, it's different, right? Because if you were spending money on buying the baking supplies, that's probably a lot less than you would spend, like, if you
Mhm.
were just, let me go out and grab a little lunch or a fun beverage or, like, do some window shopping, which turns into, like, real damage, like, on our cards. So, yeah, it
And
can really.
and yes, no, no, no. And if you're like me too, and I know Harmony put this in her report this week, she's treating herself to, I think that's what she prefer treating, is like treating herself to like local bakeries. And to me, I'm just like, if you're also like us, like I do like a sweet treat. Like I like a treat. So if I
Mhm,
bake it, I can have it each day without it
mhm.
adding up.
Right. Yes, girl math. 100%
Yeah.
girl math.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh.
Let's get into this week's water cooler.
Okay.
So, this week they say, I have a client who just asked if I could post her product link in every story. Sometimes stories go out on weekends and holidays, so I'd have to manually add links on my days off, which is not something I'm comfortable doing. Plus, I don't think it makes sense to add her product link to every story because not every story is promotional. How would you handle this situation? And is there a way to schedule stories with links in advance, or are we all still having to do this manually?
Mm.
So, yeah, sadly, we do
Mhm,
have to still do this manually. And I know Jessica and I talk about this all the time where we need to develop an app that actually, because later, such a tease, they're like, oh, you can auto publish this, but
mhm.
almost every social media manager, like you want to include a poll, you want to include a sticker or a
Mhm.
product link, and you're just like,
Yeah.
it's all a tease. It's a tease.
Yeah. Yeah. If only it was all the way true that we could do that. And so it's definitely something that needs to be done manually. And I think this is there's two thoughts that I have. I think the first thought is one, just a conversation with your client around why in their mind does the product link need to be in every single story? Because I think a lot of times it'll help you really like uncover like what they're really thinking of. I don't really know because I know we only know as much information that's here, but I'm going to go out on a limb and just take an educated guess that they want to increase product sales. I mean,
Mhm.
to me that seems like the most simple, straightforward answer here. So, in my head, this is really similar to back in the day, being only a few years ago, when you needed 10K for the swipe up feature.
Mm.
And I remember hitting it for one of our clients who sold a product. And I remember she told me we should do the swipe up on every single story. And I'm like, I understand where you're coming from with wanting to like push more product, but she had a product that it was a wellness product and it sold itself. So there was no need for us to really be pushy or salesy with the product. We really just needed to like create great like organic content. And so I had the conversation with her. If your audience sees a story like every single time and it says, or we say, or you say, swipe up to buy XYZ, swipe up for this product, swipe up for this product, like it takes a couple of, they say it takes like, I always say the number 10, like around 10 touch points or 10 times for someone to like see, know, and trust and want to buy your product. But that doesn't mean that it needs to happen the same way every single time. So it doesn't need to be like a story a day or every single story you post in that month, even if it's only 15 stories for the month. And so I think just asking that question to your client, because that's probably going to help you unravel something that's really important with their expectations of you as their social media manager, which I think is so fitting. We're talking about Emily in Paris this
Mhm.
episode and kind of the what they did wrong, what they did right. And I think a big thing for that is they really showcase like glorify being a social media manager. Like, oh, everything is fun and it's cool. And this job is super fun. I think Madeline and I can both agree on that, but it is also like stressful as heck at the same time. And so to have a client expect you to make sales, it's just a conversation to have, because when they get that analytics report at the end of the month or at the end of 3 months or 6 months or what have you, they're going to say, hey, how come we haven't sold more? How come we haven't done more? And so I think that's a conversation for that. The other thing as well, and I don't know if this is a hot take, but I'm going to share it anyway. I am someone who I am really good about my weekends. Like on the weekend, I am not doing client work. On the weekend, maybe I'm squeezing in something for like internally for like the business or the podcast if I want to get ahead because I'm probably like always behind. Or to like sometimes on the weekend, I find myself like going to grab like an iced matcha and I'm like, hey, like I'm here. Let me open my laptop, work for 30 minutes because again, love what we do, right? So it, doesn't always feel like work. And so that being said, even though I may be online or may be available to post a story, my weekends are my boundaries. And
Mm.
I'm really the same way with the team. In my head, the team has the same boundaries that I do. Now, there's a couple of them who would rather like do something on a Saturday and then maybe they need to take a Wednesday off for like an appointment or something or what have you. But still, that is an expectation that that's what they're doing. The client is not going to know that, hey, we're going to be working on the weekends. We can post this story. So I'm really strong about those boundaries. So for that reason, I would push stories to not be on the weekends. I would push it to in the week. I feel like it kind of also goes back into like everything like Madeline was even saying for her weekend thought. Like, when is the right time to post that story for your audience? Like, is it first thing in the morning? Is it middle of the day before they take their lunch hour? Is it before they're like scrolling Instagram like late at night? So kind of thinking that through, but also taking into account your availability and your boundaries because you can set them and you should set them. I hope that answers a couple of parts to this water cooler. Would you add anything to that, Madeline?
I would add just one other thing. So, like, because the boutique, like, first of all, weekends also are a boundary of mine, but I've shared on here too, where it's like I'll do like best self Sunday or best self Saturdays, where in similar to you, where it's like, yeah, on weekends
Hmm.
I am working. I use air quotes because
Hmm.
I'm working on blog posts. I'm kind of mapping out the next week for the podcast Instagram, which we're getting ahead on. But just like different, like, to me it doesn't feel like work, but when it comes to client stuff, like, that is my hard stop. Now with the boutique, like with a boutique, if you have a boutique client, it gets this is again where like social media management can get, there's like a gray area because a boutique, like, people are shopping on the weekends. And so again, you're so like social media doesn't stop. However, by planning ahead, I won't, like, I will still publish stories on the weekend, but I have a set time of like when I am doing that.
Hmm.
And in all honesty, I don't even think my boss necessarily expects it, but I expect it of myself.
Hmm.
So I don't know. It's
Yeah.
tricky. Everything you just said, though, where it's like I would have the conversation with the client. Like, I think that is a simple, I shouldn't
Hmm.
say simple, but a conversation to have.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that too. Like even if and I think we've talked about this before where sometimes, you know, you're the one who can set those boundaries, but you're the one who can edit those boundaries
Mm,
and can really make them work for you. And to Madeline's point, like if your client and just the story needs to go up on Saturday for any particular reason, or even if it's kind of you setting that expectation, then just kind of work ahead during the week. Get everything
mhm.
prepped. Get it into like a folder on your iPhone with the stories that need to go up. set a little reminder on your phone or an alarm or what have you. You have everything kind of in there ready to go. I'm someone, again, I, like I said, I Slack myself. So if I ever need to like manually post something, I'm literally Slacking it to myself. I'm like, here's the
Mm-hmm.
link I need to put in the sticker. Here's what I need to put in the poll if I want to remember specifically what to add. So you can really get really specific with just setting yourself up. So if you are spending that time, then maybe it's only 5-10 minutes that you're
Yep.
spending on that Saturday to put that story up. And to me, that is a lot less than it could be if you're, not setting a boundary of working on the weekend, because you can really get sucked into that time a little bit more. So I hope
Yes.
that answered. I think that was such a good water cooler with
I-
so many different parts to it in terms of, yeah.
Yes, and especially I feel like we'll be having this conversation more as we lead up to the holidays, because the holidays
Mhm.
do get tricky for us, and we want to make sure we're setting you up so that you're not wanting to pull your hair out or
Mhm.
quit your
Mhm.
daydreaming day job, so on and so forth. Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yep. Yep. Should we jump to what's on our feed this week?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so on my feed this week, and honestly for the past several weeks, I am consumed with all of the videos from the owner, who is a candy connoisseur, which I absolutely love
I
that, of Lil Sweet Treat on TikTok. It's a candy shop that opened in the West Village in New York City, and I know that
ah,
because that is how she starts every TikTok video she creates. So I love the
hmm.
consistency there,
Mhm.
because now I know, and I'm like telling Ryan, I'm like, the next time we go to the city for his job, I'm like, I'm going to the West Village. I'm going to Little Sweet Treat. I have to go. Like, and I like a sweet treat, but I'm not a huge like candy person like this. I'm more of like a
Oh,
chocolate gal, but I do love candy. Like I'm not gonna lie, like I will go in there. But she has created her organic social media strategy around opening her store. And I think that this is such a great take if you're a business owner, if you're starting your own business, that it's something that you can bring people along with the process, like the good, the bad, and the ugly. Like there were times where she was like having to redo the sign several times, where she like printed it with a QR code and like showing that process. Unfortunately, someone like tagged like the outside of her store, so she had to get that cleaned up. Like, so again, it's like the good and the bad, but it's the opening of a store, and it gets people so excited. Her branding is so cute. She has these little cute, like, people in the
I'm
comments are
obsessed.
calling them,
I'm
they're like little like chicken
yeah.
rotisserie bags for the treats, which again, so cute. She shared her thought process around that. I think she has a background in product marketing from Google. Like I think that's her background.
Oh.
Yeah, so she's very, very, very smart, very great marketer, and so wish her nothing but the best. But now she did a soft opening. I think the grand opening is coming up soon, and people are creating so much content around going to her store. She created a cute mural. It's a cute little storefront, and I just think, wow, like 10 out of 10, no notes on everything she did. So
Oh
go
my
check it out
gosh.
on TikTok if you haven't seen it, because I think just the journey and the content strategy around that was so great. I can't wait to see what she launches and does for her marketing now that she's opening. And yeah, I really, really love that. And if you're in New York, definitely please go try a little
Oh
sweet
my
treat
god.
and let us know if it's good.
I'm looking at their Instagram and I'm like, I need to go. Because I do
Mm-hmm.
like I love all sweets, but like I do enjoy gummy
Mm-hmm.
sweet treats. So okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, I love that. Okay, for what's on my feed this week. So, J. Crew is bringing back its old school nostalgic catalog, and I am so here for this because if you're a millennial, you know just how iconic millennial and like beyond, like you just know. So I'm excited that the younger generations now get to see, because I think Gen Z is going to eat this up, because again they love the Y2K era, and like that, like this catalog is so
Mm-hmm.
like 90s Y2K coded. And I love this for multiple reasons. So number one, so in college, like I took all the graphic design classes after I lied to my DS boss and told her I was a graphic design major. And in one of the classes, we had to create catalogs. We could create any brand, and I chose J. Crew, and I want to find it to put it in the newsletter because this was one of my proudest projects, and I believe I did get an A on it because it was for a typography class. And like, that's what J. Crew to me, it's like their catalog is just so in captivating. And I actually wanted to I want to read a quote. So I read multiple articles about this, but what how it came across my feed actually was on LinkedIn, and it was from this girl's Substack actually. And it's called, I literally never heard of her, never heard of the Substack, but obviously clicked it. And from sorry, I'm bringing it up. So there somebody commented, and I'm going to read the direct quote. So they say, "Love how almost all of these are outdoors, in the city, at the beach, on a boat. It's a stark contrast to today. How many brands today are doing their lookbooks slash ads against a colored background or a wall with a chair and side table against it? Most of them. I I understand that there's pros to doing it that way, but a lot of these older photo books showed you their clothing in action, worn out and about while doing things that pertain to the brand's legacy. J. Crew was a lifestyle brand, and as such, the ads reflected that at a time where people weren't glued to their phones. Lookbooks were reflecting what people did, living life, doing things. Today, it's all about a fit pic in a mirror, so it's no surprise we get lookbooks with guys just standing there in a pose. It's reflective of what people are doing today. And sorry, I know that was a long quote. I could have probably summarized that,
No,
but
no, that was great.
but they also, so like with this strategy, like there's multiple covers, and Demi Moore's on one of them. And I really liked what she also said something where it was like, there's two, when you're a celebrity, they're living these two parts, the one that's on the red carpet and the one that's on grass, which I thought was funny because it's like,
Mhm.
the I to me, I always love the like go touch grass, like when it's like clearly
Mhm.
people are like, who do you think you are?
Mhm.
But J. Crew to me embodies my whole higher self, like ever since I was a
Mhm.
kid, like where J. Crew to me, like you collect the staples, like you just
Mhm.
like the
Yeah.
staple jeans, and obviously it's more of like East Coast vibe, so like
Mhm.
duh, like very much makes sense to me. But I think that it's amazing. I also love that I don't know if you've heard, but the whole Lost J. Crew account on Instagram, I love
Mm-mm.
following that. Like, so the Lost J. Crew, and I'll link that as well in the newsletter, but there's 81.5 thousand followers. And it's, to me, if you're a graphic designer, or honestly, if you are a social media manager wondering, like, where do you guys get your design ideas? Like, obviously
Mhm.
Pinterest, but like accounts like this, and honestly, like physical magazines and lookbooks is where personally I will
Mhm.
go. And so the Lost J. Crew account, like, if you scroll, and it's just like all old school catalogs, and to me, you can just get so many ideas for your products, and even a photo shoot, like go with an
Mhm.
old school vibe. Like, I don't know, so
Yeah.
that is what is on my feed, and
Mhm.
I'm excited for the hot, like, I'm living in my pumpkin spice era, but already Anthropology like is sending me like shop the holiday, and I'm like, can we slow
Mhm.
down for a second? But like, obviously I'm excited, but I'm just like, can we
Mhm.
live in, and as a marketer, we all know, like, I knew the second Labor Day was over, my inbox was
Mhm.
going to be flooded with the last minute, like, oh, we've extended our Labor Day sale, or like,
Mhm.
up here's the Halloween, here's the Christmas. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it really comes really quickly, but no, I love this idea for I think just for, like, the creativity. I have to say one thing that the more frequently that I feel like we do like content shoots, I feel like the better I'm getting at like creative directing them. And my favorite
Mm,
place to look, of course, Pinterest, hands down, great for inspiration. But I immediately look through like magazines and catalogs and
mhm,
just so many different things. I recently got, and I got them for the props for the content shoot that we did for our content, and I got these, it's like called like All American Ads. They have like 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s, like different coffee table books.
ooh,
They're
right,
all on Amazon, and I got them as a prop for our content, but I also was like telling Ryan, I was like, because any additional prop, I'm like returning immediately to Amazon or wherever we bought it. If I don't need it, right? I'm like, let me just return it. But I'm like, I'm keeping these because I'm like, one, I'm like, these will be coffee table books, like in our next house. And I'm like, they will fill the shelves of my, I'm like picturing like future
mhm.
office. So, but there's so much great inspiration around different things. And I think even if you were thinking of like, okay, I need to take a new headshot, like looking for a pose or a way to like sit, like I think this is great. I immediately followed Lost J Crew because I'm like new favorite Instagram account.
Mhm.
And I'm excited to see if any brands like follow suit with like bringing back
I
their
mhm.
catalogs
I could see it.
or starting a catalog if they're a new brand.
I would love, because I think at the end of the day, like, I do think that the younger generation crave that, like, crave that
Mhm.
connection, and like we just said, where it's like the creativity of not just a picture, a mere picture to show your outfit, where it's like to encourage
Mhm.
them to go show how you're living your life. And I want to bring that quickly back to the Anthropology, that again we talked about their fall launch, and I think that is what made their fall campaign such a success, was because they got that video content of their clothes
Mhm.
out in New York City. So,
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
and on the top, what a great way to segue into today's topic, because if we're talking fashion,
Mhm.
which,
Yes.
okay, I've been scrolling the internet and people are not the biggest fan of Emily in Paris outfits this season, but I love them and I stand by that. I literally stand by that. There was
Yeah.
one that you'll everybody will see on hashtag managed account this weekend. I, I was I haven't shown it to you, but I was sending it to Harmony.
Mhm.
Um, but there was this one, it was on a thread. Sorry, I promise we'll get into the topic, but I need to say this. But there was this it was on threads and they go, not Emily dressed up as a chic hamburglar, and they have her next to the like McDonald's and I was like,
Oh my god.
this was my favorite look. Okay, like I now, like, this to me, I like want to wear this as my Halloween costume. But like,
Mhm.
what
Yeah.
Halloween party am I going to? None.
Right.
But
Right. No, but I agree. I feel like apparently unpopular opinion, but I have always liked the fashion in Emily in Paris, and I really liked it this season as well. Like I
mhm.
don't think it changed. I think people are unfortunately like in a time where they're, and I don't know why, like the it ends with us like fashion, like really, I mean, granted, I do feel like there were some pieces that missed the mark, but I do feel like there were some that really worked. Like, and hearing more and more around like the creative direction around that, I feel like I'm kind of like, okay, yes, like I love that. I love something that makes sense and like there's a purpose for it, which I feel like for any fashion and any production.
Mm,
And
mhm.
yeah, well, I'm excited for part two of Emily in Paris, which of course is why we timed this perfectly. So
Mhm.
your week is full of Emily in Paris content, whether you want to have it or not. I will say, like, Emily in Paris is it's a great show. Like, of course, like when part two comes out, I'm going to binge it. No doubt about it. I'm
Mhm.
gonna cancel my plans. And it's something of like any season, the further along you get, the more of an interesting like plot line. Like it's following the whole love triangle, which I like. I like that. I pick my teams, right, of like, who I want Emily to be with, like this season or this part of the season. But like I selfishly wanted it to be more like just give me all the marketing things. Like give me
Mm,
the, let me live vicariously through Emily of being a American marketer living in Paris. Like that's all
mm.
I'm asking for out of Netflix. So, um, we have a couple of things that we think Emily in Paris got wrong, got right, and some missed opportunities. And huge shout out to Madeleine for putting together this blog post around. So we'll have a blog to accompany this episode all around everything we talk through. And so huge shout out to Madeleine because she wrote that and I did not.
No, it definitely, and both Jessica and Harmony can attest to this, where it's we were dusting off the brain cells that hasn't written in a long time, but I think this blog post actually, it's we are definitely entering the Carrie Bradshaw little journalist era, because I'm the worst at keeping secrets and Easter eggs, but I'm currently working on one that will be out in 2 weeks. But I'm so excited for you guys. And it's a fall movie list based on your emotions, like based on your moods. Like if you're PMSing and just need a good ugly cry, when you're looking for a compromise with your partner. And Brennan approved of it. So like I don't know if your significant other will also have the same taste as Brennan, but you never know. Um so anyways, excited. No, it was such a fun blog to write. So I feel like, should we start with what Emily in Paris got wrong or right?
Let's start with what they got right because I
Okay.
feel like
Okay.
our list is a little lopsided. So, just
Okay.
based off our opinion. So, yeah, let's start with what Emily in Paris got right.
Okay. So I will say what they got right is the whole demanding boss and clients. Like, nailed it. Sylvia,
Mhm.
yep, we've all had a Sylvia. We all have had
Mhm.
multiple Sylvias in our life. Honestly, I wouldn't mind working for Sylvia. Sylvia actually
Yeah.
seems nicer than honestly some of
Yeah.
of the bosses I've had.
Agreed. And I think Sylvia has had real growth
Yeah.
as a boss, and I've never seen that before in my Sylvias I've encountered before, but definitely the demand of the boss of Sylvia, demand of clients, again, expectations of, we expect this, we want this. What's that saying? It's like they clients have a Ferrari expectation, but
Mm.
like a, sorry, Ford budget for their projects. And I think that's just so accurate when it comes to not every client, every boss, but a lot of clients. They are just very demanding when it comes to like anything social media and marketing. And as we all know as marketers, like it is not that simple to expect greatness or want greatness if you don't have like a budget or resources to put behind it.
Mm.
So I do
And
think
I
they
and
nailed that really well.
and I'll say, like, the one example though of from this season where I think we all can relate and we've been there before is when they were I- the episode is escaping me, but Luke has to present something. It's the whole scavenger hunt
Oh, yep.
episode,
Yep.
okay, like the
Hmm.
lost necklace. And Emily has to go find Cammy. I always say her name wrong. Cammy?
Is it Camille?
Kami. Yeah. I'm like, they always do it so French, and I'm like,
Hmm.
I'm not the that best that accents. Anyways, and she figures out where she is, and so she leaves, and then Luke has to come up with whatever, and Sylvia's like, wait, where's Emily? The second the client's like, what are we doing for social? And it's just
Hmm.
like, oh, now you need the social
Hmm.
person.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. And I think too, like that episode was really good because it talked about something that I feel like as marketers we either are for this or against this, but the whole premise of the scavenger hunt is looking for a necklace that isn't actually out there, but it was supposed to generate all this like buzz, and he says a line like, "Oh, it'll die down," or
Uh-huh.
like
They'll
something, cuz
forget. They'll
apparently
forget.
right, they'll forget, which I just feel like is just a very that to me was very accurate in some clients that
Yeah.
I've worked with where they're like, we should do this crazy like thing and like overpromise and underdeliver to an audience, which in hindsight, and it probably won't happen, but I would love to see that like actually backfire because that would be realistic. Like people find out like, oh wait, you lied to us. There's no actual like necklace for this scavenger hunt because a lot of brands go through that, right? Like PR crisis. So anyway, that would be something if they really wanted to be really accurate, they would add that in. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's a really big one. The lack of boundaries, I couldn't tell you what Emily's hours are in the
Mm-mm.
show. I don't know if she follows any. They're just very all over the place, which is interesting. And so I don't know if it's specifically like French culture, but Ryan works for a European company and a lot of his coworkers are European based. And I don't know, a lot of them, like, I don't think they follow like the same work schedule as Emily in Paris. I think our girl works a little too hard. She brings that like Chicago, like hustle mentality, like over to Paris. But I do think the whole like there's no boundaries at all. Like honestly too, like like the mix of like personal and business, and granted it's for a show and it's a little dramatic in that sense and none of us are living crazy lives like that, but I do feel like the mixing of a lot of things, like especially like with for us at Social Savvy, like a lot of our clients like because they like refer so and refer so and so, and I guess that kind of happens in the show. Like, they refer like
Mm-mm.
Sylvie's agency, but then you're like all kind of intertwined. Like I feel like that's really accurate as well, where then all of a sudden you're like in business with all these people and you're kind of like, whoa, it all seems like they're like, if one falls, they all fall, which is definitely not true from experience, but that's how it feels. And I feel like the show does a good job of like showcasing that because since everyone
Yeah.
is super connected.
Mm-hmm. Is there
Yeah.
those were the things that I said they got right.
Yeah.
If any of our listeners have what they also think they got right, but I
Hmm.
think we should move on to what they got wrong.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
So so the workload and time management of a social
Hmm.
media manager could not be farther from the truth in my opinion.
Hmm.
Um and I know we are not the only social media managers out there who were wanting to see Emily post to the wrong account.
Hmm.
Like I know we're
Yes.
not. I,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I needed
just
something to go wrong, a big issue, a big mispost, a big something, like it's very yeah, the workload is very glamorized in the series. And I get it. It's part of the whole point of, Emily in Paris and living it up. But yeah, definitely is something that I think they could have done a better job of making it a little bit more realistic. And I think we talked about this before where there should have been like, I don't know, I feel like they could have had consulting from like social media marketers who work in like
yes.
corporate roles or
Act.
like different roles, like just to give a little bit more of a glimpse. I think that that would have
Mhm.
been a whole lot better.
Yep. Okay, the second thing, client meetings. So I laugh every time it's just poof. She has a client will walk in, she
Hmm.
meets them. Sylvia will be like, "Don't speak," but then it's
Hmm.
like, "Oh, we need you to speak because they're curious about social media," and then poof, the whole campaign is done.
Hmm.
We never see any of the work going on behind the scenes of like what Emily would have to do in order to come up with that entire strategy, which we all know is like
Hmm.
so much work. So
Yeah.
much work. Um
Yeah. Yeah, and it's very like, I do think we didn't add this. I do think this happens in the show, and I don't think we added it to what they got right, but I do think in some of the client meetings, there's, like, pushback from the client. Like, I do think they got that right? It's like, okay,
Mm.
clients coming in, clients asking like, "Hey, what can you do? What can be done on social?" Emily pitches her, fully fledged strategy that's going to increase sales or XYZ. And I do think the clients like push back and they're like, "Well, why would we do that? Why would we do that?" It's almost like questioning who you're hiring to do, which I think
Mm.
that part is
Mhm.
accurate. The part on her just creating some random idea, and it's so funny because now I feel like, and I don't know if it's just this season, but it's always like relating now to her like personal life. And I think that is a really big stretch as like a social media marketer because we're not always the target audience. So like we're not always going to have that like personal take on, here's what we would do or here's what's affected my life kind of thing. So the whole campaigns being really ready and no actual work being put into it is crazy because I think as social media marketers, like we're strategists, but
Mm.
we're also implementers as well. And so I think it's very rare that Emily is implementing or doing anything of that sorts in the show.
Agreed. Agreed. Okay, what about how easy they make it seem going viral is?
To me, I mean, I guess that's part of the cheesiness part of the show, right? Like let's cuz it her like first post on like the first episode of season
Yeah.
1, like I just
Yeah.
moved from Chicago to Paris and here I am, and like she starts going viral and gaining lots of followers. Like that was a
Which
little
which I feel
oh
like, see, to me, I'm like, that I could see going viral because, like, that I'm like, people, like,
mm,
I would become invested where it's like that. But in like this season, the episode where it's like she goes to Gabrielle's restaurant to see the pastry chef, snaps a quick picture, posts it, and whoa, all of a sudden the restaurant is popping
right.
off.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. Agreed. Yeah, it's definitely there's no like consistency. It's just like a one and done for everything in the show. And I get it. Like the show can't run for hours and hours. Like it's what is it? 40-minute long episodes,
Yeah.
but there is no like reality of, oh, we posted this and it didn't go viral or didn't do so well. Like it's always like a real life thing of the campaign being put together that goes wrong, like the whole like what was it? Were they at I don't remember, were they at like a tennis match or like one of the
Mm.
starting episodes where it's supposed to be like her and Alfie like on the kiss cam
Oh
kind of
my
thing? Like
gosh. That would never happen. I cringe so hard. I'm like, I couldn't tell you one social media marketer who would agree to that at all.
I think that's like taking our take on like should your social media manager be the face of the brand like
Yes.
way
Yes.
too to heart, like to heart. Like
Yes.
yeah,
Oh,
that would never happen.
wait, this is a side note. Did you know that the perfume that the Heartbreak is actually a perfume you can buy?
Oh, I did
I
not.
just, yes, I, and it's
I'm
super okay.
intrigued though.
First of all perfume I think we've gathered is expensive, but I need to
Mhm.
find the article. But yeah, you can buy it. It's just super expensive.
Okay, interesting. I don't know if it was like last season or like season 2, but do you remember when they went to like the lavender fields and they did
Yes,
that
because
perfume?
yes,
So I
yes.
actually do have that perfume because my mother-in-law bought that
No,
for me.
no
So like
way.
send the article to my mother-in-law so she can get this heartbreak one. No, I'm just kidding. But
Do you like the
because
lavender one or
I
whatever it was?
I do. I think I'm more like for lavender, I'm more of like let me use that as like an essential oil like in my
Okay.
routine versus like scent. But it is kind of like cute. Like I'll find it. It's somewhere. It's somewhere. I hope it's not packed up. But if it's not packed up, I can send a picture of what it looks like. But it's
Um.
but yeah, that is cool. I will say that is a really cool thing. I love seeing that like come to life like from the show.
Um. Also, side note, that whole with them going to the lavender farm was where my dream of owning a lavender field in France
Mhm.
stemmed
Yeah.
from. Like I've told Brennan that we when we retire, we're moving to France for me to have a lavender farm and
Mm, I
have
like
this like
that.
homestead, like, you know.
Mhm. Yeah.
I
I like
mean,
that, and I feel like that's fitting because I've told Ryan that we're retiring in Italy. I've never been there, but,
okay.
like, I'm just
Uh
close. We can get
no,
there. There's
we
trains.
could yes, and we can no, because I also Brennan wants to like he wants to do like pasta making and stuff like.
Oh, perfect.
So yeah,
Yes.
no.
Yep.
Also, that makes me excited for the second part because I know they're like it's going to be in Rome. So
Mhm.
I'm really excited about that. Especially, sorry, we'll continue back to the topic, but especially since I studied abroad in Rome, and like I'm gonna be excited to see like the like where they
Mhm.
chose like to
Yeah.
film.
Yeah.
So, and again,
Yeah,
like let's
we'll
bring it
need
back to Lizzie
your
McGuire.
yes, yes. We'll need your full report on
Yes.
if Emily in Rome does justice.
See, yes. And also because you said you picked who your team, where I'm kind of here for this new guy. Like, I'm here for this Roman man, where I'm like,
Yeah, I am too, I will say. And so now I feel like this is really fitting for our topic, but are you team Alfie or team Gabrielle?
this is gonna be a hot take, but I love the Brits.
Okay,
So,
I'm team Alfie
I'm
too,
Team
but
Alfie because I'm just like, I'm like, Gabrielle's too sketchy, and like, there's
yeah.
always going to be like,
Mhm.
I'm just like,
Too
he was
much
a good man.
yeah, too much baggage. I feel like it should be easy. I feel like it's easy with Alfie. I'm team Alfie. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm team Alfie, but I'm interested to see where what love lies in Rome for
Yes.
for Emily for sure. Okay, should we talk about kind of our last note here, but like missed opportunities
Yes.
from
Yes,
Emily in
yes,
Paris?
yes. Yes. Um, do you want to start or do you want me?
Yeah, I think we both kind of agree that it's because we definitely talked through this too. I remember with our planning meeting with Harmony, just the biggest missed opportunity, and there might be more that we might find in the next
Mhm.
part, but their own social media. Like, what are we doing? I feel
Mhm.
like there's so much opportunity for them to honestly just lean into a good social media presence because that's what the show is all about. And I would have loved to see like a take on like some either the current marketer or I'm sure it's a team like taking it away from similar like cuz it's very similar to like the Netflix account. It's very similar to other show accounts.
Yes.
It's like, oh, like here's a clip of the, of this. Here's a carousel of what
Episode,
you
yeah.
missed in last season. Like all of that. Like I don't know, show me like behind the scenes of being the social media manager of the Emily in Paris Instagram. Like there has to be so many opportunities to make it very similar to like what was like in the show. Like recreating that I think would be really iconic for their social media accounts.
I also think so like the what I will say so like I think it's every day like in the story they're like teaching like a new word, which okay, that's cute. But
Mhm.
like especially with the fashion, like to me this is our new Sex in the City. Like first of all, Sex in the
Mhm.
City will never you can never replicate that. But it's like one of those shows where it's like Sex in the City, Gossip Girl. They so when people say like, "Oh, the outfits are terrible," no, they're not. They're iconic and are going to become Halloween costumes. And like to me that's so
Mhm.
cinematic like where it's like that's the point. Like you want
Mhm.
to like make this statement. Also it's Paris. Like they like Parisian style is so different from American
Mhm.
as it
Yes.
should. As
Yes.
it should because it's like the fashion capital of the world or maybe that's Milan. But regardless, I wish they would do like more like because I know that they're doing something with like Google, where it's like
Mhm. Oh, yeah,
to like
yeah.
like where it's like fun to like recreate the outfit, but still like, so that's cool that they've done that collaboration. I just would like to see it more on Instagram, where it's like there's so many people, like user generated content to me, where I'm like, you could have done a strategy around that because people are
Mhm.
recreating her looks, and just
Mhm. Yeah.
it's
Agreed.
just so meh. Like you said, like I'm almost curious, where I feel like we're maybe Netflix account, like there's Netflix's social media manager, or their social media department. It's like, this is your account. You have to promote
Mhm.
Emily in Paris, and what if
Right.
you're listening, and if you are that social media manager, like
Mhm.
please reach out.
Yeah.
Please, just to have a chat with Jessica and I, even. I mean,
Mhm.
let's be friends.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. We would love to be, but we'd become best friends instantly. Um, but I do think there's a lot of like missed opportunity that they could just really like switch it up. And like you said, there's so many opportunities for reposting creators who are like recreating the outfits. People are visiting the spots, Gabrielle's restaurant in Paris. I mean, I think there's a lot of like
Mm,
opportunity for sharing that. I think also too, like there's, it's interesting, right? Like they're kind of the whole cast, they do like their press tour, like promoting the
mm,
show, like, and there's the fun clips with like different like magazines and like Elle or like Vogue or like whoever's like kind of doing the
mhm.
press. Like I feel like that should have been, because I feel like Netflix is a media company, like they're a production house. So like they could do the same thing. They could create the fun content with the cast like these
Yeah.
other publications are doing as well. Like because honestly I've been watching those and it's hilarious to see the like personalities of the
Mm,
cast of Emily in Paris. So like that could easily be done as like a behind the scenes kind of thing. And also there needs their social media manager, get them on the set to film
yes,
content
but
on the set behind the scenes, like then you
mhm.
would not even have to worry about what do I post at this moment. Like show me the behind the scenes of like the different parts, the different scenes that they have shot, and I feel like that is great social media content. So
And okay, can we also bring back bloopers? Do you I feel like growing
mm,
up as a kid, I feel like a lot of shows, like after the episode ended, like there would be bloopers, even
mhm.
in
Oh yeah,
movies.
yeah,
Can we,
yeah.
like, I looked for, like, I would stay in the theater to
Mhm.
watch the bloopers, because who doesn't love a good blooper?
Yeah. No, I agree. I miss bloopers because I feel like they show like it's so funny. Like even if it's like okay, they can't deliver their line, or like when they all break and they start laughing. Like to me, that's so funny. Like
Yeah.
I love watching shows that actually are like aired and you can see like a character or a cast member like in the background who breaks character for a split
Yes.
second. Like it happened like all the time on The Office. Like but yeah, I agree. The bloopers, that would be great for like social media content as well because it would bring people to that account and then it would show people too who aren't into Emily in Paris. Maybe they want to watch it. So that would be a
Yeah.
really good idea. Yeah.
I mean, and on that note,
Yeah.
mic drop.
Agreed. So we hope you guys love Emily in Paris as much as we do. If you made it this far, then yes, you do. Or if not, maybe you're intrigued and want to watch it. I would say if you're a marketer, just watch it. Like, watch it for that sense. You don't have to watch it for the love stories, the angles, the drama, even if you don't want to watch it for the fashion or anything like that, but watch it for the marketing. Like, because I do think that like even though they don't hit everything on the right mark, it's still very like marketing focused, and maybe it's more so on the influencer side or like ad side or something along those lines, or events. But I do think it's a great, again, another place to find inspiration. Maybe you're not working with a lavender farm or a champagne company. I'm trying to think of all the clients that they have in the show or
But if you are, like,
Mhm.
I want to be your friend, because I
Right.
that and I want to follow that account, because
Yes.
that's awesome.
Yes, absolutely. So if you guys have anything to add, please let us know. We'll do some fun things on social media too. And so you can kind of interact and see our Emily in Paris content, since we love it so much. But yeah, other than that, thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode. Madeline, do you want to close us out?
Yes, if you would be the best and leave us a review, that would be cool. If you know there's no reviews out there right now that say how awesome Madeline and Jessica are as hosts of pod or of hashtag managed. So that would just make my day. And I know Jessica's as well. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and to subscribe to our newsletter where we send all like the show note links and all the other randomness that we talked about in the episode. And and be sure to join our free Facebook group. And I think that is all. We will catch you guys next week on the airwaves.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you haven't already, hit that follow button, and if you really love us, be sure to subscribe wherever you are listening from.
And if you want to be one of our online besties, you can shoot us a DM over at hashtag managed on Instagram and let us know what your biggest takeaway was from this episode. Or, you could also share all your deepest, darkest secrets. Kidding, but we mean it when we say you can shoot us a DM. We love building real, authentic relationships with you.